Hey guys, so my video is going to be on the 3 CMOs and kind of explaining those and giving some examples. I definitely found this pretty intimidating looking at all these different definitions and trying to figure out what the heck everything meant. So I figured this would be a good way for me to study these things, but also to provide some examples for you guys for studying for the exam. So what's a condition motivating operation? A condition motivating operation, or CMO, is an MO which establishes or abolishes the value of a stimuli as reinforcers or punishers as a result of learned consequences. So remember, an MO either establishes or abolishes the value of a stimuli as a reinforcer or punisher. But what makes it conditioned is that those stimuli are over time learned as being paired with the consequences. So the first CMO I want to talk about is the CMOS, or the surrogate CMO. A surrogate CMO is a previously neutral stimulus that acquired its MO effect by being paired with a UMO. So the learned stimulus acts as a surrogate of the unconditioned stimulus, which will evoke or abate a behavior. The example I'm using here is Jimmy works at a factory where everyone eats lunch at the same time. He notices that he's always hungry by the time the lunch break whistle blows. One day, he eats a gigantic breakfast and does not think he will eat lunch, but packs one just in case. When the lunch whistle goes off, however, before he even realizes it, he's eating his packed lunch. The lunch whistle acts as a surrogate for feeling hungry. The next CMO is the CMOR, or the reflexive CMO. In this case, a CMOR is any stimulus that systematically precedes the onset of reinforcement or punishment by which its own offset functions as a reinforcer or punisher. The stimulus in the past was paired with an aversive stimulus, or a reward, whereby now it serves as the warning stimulus to evoke or abolish a behavior. For example, a pigeon in a Skinner box learned that pecking a lever would sometimes cause an electric shock or a food pellet to be dispensed. It soon realized that when there was a green light present and the lever was pecked, it meant that food would be dropped in. When a red light turned on, it meant that it would receive an electric shock when pressing the lever. The color of the light acted as a CMO-R. The last one we'll talk about, and in my opinion was one of the more confusing ones to really conceptualize, is the CMOT, or the transitive CMO. A transitive CMO is an environmental variable that establishes the effectiveness of another event as a reinforcer or punisher. So for an example here, what I wrote was a little bit confusing, but I'll try to translate it. So the EO or AO is created for behavior 1. Behavior 1 gives you access to reinforcement 1 or punishment 1. Behavior 2 gives you access to behavior 1, which in turn gives you access to reinforcement 1 or punishment 1. Therefore, whatever stimuli were affecting the learner to evoke or abate the behavior 1 is also evoking or abating behavior 2. So an example of this I have is Billy is learning to man for desired items, and his parents forgot to give him breakfast before arriving to the clinic. His BCBAs have implemented a program in which clinicians no longer give him desired food items unless he mans for them. The EO for grabbing at food is food deprivation. The act of withholding food unless a man is completed acts as the CMOT, which the EO of the food deprivation is transferred from grabbing the food items to manding for food items.